What if I told you that the drink in your glass is responsible for the rise and fall of empires, the birth of philosophy, and some of the bloodiest revolutions in history? This isn't just fermented grape juice. It's a force that has shaped our world for thousands of years. We're about to uncover the shocking and untold stories of how wine became a global expression, from the vineyards of the gods to the cellars of the kings and revolutionaries. This is the story of how grapes, gods, and glory created the world we know today. Welcome to the Filipino YouTube channel, where we create wine education videos for beginners and wine lovers. The first sip of civilization. Our story begins not in the Grand Palace, but in the rugged Caucasus Mountains of the Stone Age. Around 8,000 years ago, in what is now modern-day Georgia, Neolithic people were making a profound shift. They were trading nomadic lives for settled villages, and among the wild vines clinging to the forests, they made a world-changing discovery. Archaeologists excavating Neolithic villages like Shulaveri Shomu found fragments of huge clay jars, some large enough to hold over 300 liters. Chemical analysis of these 8,000-year-old pot shards revealed the chemical signature of wine. This is the earliest known evidence of winemaking on Earth, around 6,000 BCE. These early farmers weren't just making wine. They were producing it on a massive scale, suggesting they had already begun domesticating this wild Eurasian grapevine. But the most complete picture of our first winery comes from a nearby cave in Armenia. Discovered in 2007, the Arani 1 cave complex revealed a stunningly advanced operation for its time. Dating back to 4100 BCE, archaeologists unearthed a complete facility, a basin for stomping grapes, fermentation vats, storage jars, and even drinking cups. The very seeds of Vitis vinifera grapes were found, perfectly preserved for over 6,000 years. This wasn't a casual hobby. The winery was located near burial sites, suggesting wine played a central role in their rituals. This was wine for the gods, a bridge between mortal and spiritual worlds. These ancient people, without modern science, had harnessed the magic of natural yeast on grape skins to create a complex, intoxicating beverage that would soon pour its way across the ancient world. Wine of gods and philosophers. From the Caucasus Mountains, the vine didn't stay put for long. It traveled south, finding fertile soil in the empires of the Near East and Egypt. In the land of the pharaohs, wine was a drink for the divine and the powerful. While beer was for the masses, wine was for the elite, for religious ceremonies, and for the afterlife. Tombs were stocked with jars of wine, each labeled with its vintage, vineyard, and winemaker, ensuring the deceased had a well-stocked cellar for eternity. But it was the civilizations of the Mediterranean that would elevate wine to a cultural cornerstone. The Phoenicians, the great sea traders of the ancient world, loaded their ships with it, spreading the culture of the vine to every corner of the sea. Yet it was the Greeks who truly fell in love. For them, wine was a gift from Dionysus, the god of revelry, ecstasy, and wine itself. It was the fuel for the symposium, a drinking party that was part intellectual debate, part philosophical salon. Over cups of wine, often diluted with water, men would discuss politics, art, and the nature of the universe. It was here, in the haze of wine-fueled conversation, that many of the foundational ideas of Western philosophy were born. Wine wasn't just an intoxicant, it was a social lubricant that brought minds together. Homer praised it in his epic poems, and by the Mycenaean era, which peaked around 1400 BCE, wine was already a pillar of society, trade, and ritual. The Roman wine machine. If the Greeks were the poets of wine, the Romans were its engineers. As the Roman Republic morphed into a mighty empire, it took winemaking and turned it into an industry. When Roman legions marched, vineyards weren't far behind. They saw Gaul, modern-day France, not just as a territory to conquer, but as a vast, untapped vineyard waiting to happen. The Romans industrialized wine production on an epic scale. They invented clever new tools, like the heavy beam press that could extract far more juice than foot stomping. They perfected the art of trellising vines to improve sun exposure and airflow, and they standardized the use of clay amphora for mass transport. Their pointed bottoms designed to be stacked efficiently in the holds of ships. But maybe their most lasting innovation was a simple act of chemistry. The Romans discovered that by burning sulfur candles inside their empty wine vessels, they could sterilize them, killing off bacteria and wild yeasts that would spoil the wine. This use of sulfur dioxide was a revolutionary preservative, a technique so effective that it remains a standard practice in winemaking today. For the Romans, wine was more than a commodity. It was an essential part of daily life and a symbol of their civilizing power. From the emperor's golden chalice to the soldier's daily ration, everyone drank wine. It flowed through their aqueducts and trade routes, a liquid testament to Roman ingenuity and dominance. They built a world that ran on wine, the keepers of the vine. But empires fall. With the collapse of Rome, Europe plunged into a period of chaos. The grand vineyards were abandoned, the sophisticated techniques forgotten. The knowledge of the Roman wine machine was on the brink of being lost forever. And then, an unlikely hero emerged, the Christian monk. During the Middle Ages, monasteries became the custodians of civilization, preserving not only literature and science, but also the art of winemaking. Orders like the Benedictines and, most famously, the Cistercians saw viticulture as a sacred duty. Their motto, Ora de labora, or pray and work, was put into practice in the vineyards. In Burgundy, France, the Cistercian monks became the first true wine scientists. Over centuries, they meticulously tended their plots of land. They observed, they recorded, and they tasted. They noticed that wine from one plot, with its specific soil and slope, tasted consistently different from the wine made just a few feet away. They created detailed maps of their vineyards, and by 1336, the famous walled vineyard Clos de Vougeot was complete. In doing so, they pioneered one of the most important concepts in wine. This is the idea that a wine is the unique expression of its specific place, the soil, the climate, and the very soul of the land. The monks of the Middle Ages didn't just save wine from extinction, they gave it a new philosophy, elevating it from an industrial product back into an art form. Revolutions in a bottle. As the Middle Ages ended, the world got a lot bigger. European ships launched an era of global exploration, and wherever they landed, the vine soon followed. After 1492, wine crossed the Atlantic, taking root in the Americas, South Africa, and Australia. These New World regions, unburdened by the strict traditions of the Old World, became hotbeds of innovation. This global expansion created a vibrant worldwide wine culture, but it also nearly led to its complete destruction. In the mid-19th century, a microscopic aphid called Phylloxera, accidentally imported from North America, swept through Europe, wiping out a vast majority of its ancient vineyards. The wine world was facing an apocalypse. The solution was revolutionary, grafting the delicate European vines onto phylloxera-resistant American rootstock. It was a fusion of the old world and the new that saved wine from the brink. This ushered in the modern era, defined by a dynamic tension between two philosophies. Old world wines from classic regions like France, Italy, and Spain are largely defined by tradition and terroir, wines that speak of the place they come from. New world wines from places like United States, Australia, and South America often prioritize fruit-forward flavors and technological innovation, focusing on the grape variety itself. Today, winemakers are looking both forward and backward. They use satellite imagery and advanced soil science that would astonish the Romans, yet they still rely on the preservative magic of sulfur dioxide. And in a fascinating twist, ancient techniques are being revived. Winemakers in Georgia are once again burying their Qvevri clay jars, just as their ancestors did 8,000 years ago, creating natural wines that are captivating a new generation of drinkers. From an accidental discovery in a Stone Age village to a global cultural phenomenon, wine has been our constant companion, sparking revolutions and surviving plagues. So the next time you raise a glass, take a moment. You're not just holding a drink, you're holding history. You are tasting the legacy of gods, the ambition of emperors, and the patient glory of the grape. Is there a wine region or historical period that fascinates you? Let us know in the comments below.